Hello, greetings from Erick Widman at Passage Immigration Law. And we are doing our weekly live immigration Q&A, and I'm glad you joined us. We have a number of really good questions. And this morning, I actually attended two naturalization interviews back to back. Two successful approvals. Our clients worked really hard. We got their applications ready. They were pristine. And one of them, they're just so happy. I love going to interviews with clients because one is a medical doctor from the Philippines who did an amazing job. He's a wonderful guy. The other is an entrepreneur from Ethiopia, came as a refugee, and runs his own business with 10 employees driving elderly Americans around. So I love both these guys. They are wonderful new US citizens, and it just makes me happy to be an immigration lawyer to do work like that. As a preliminary matter, what was interesting at one of the interviews today, my Ethiopian client had come here as a refugee over 12 years ago. And the officer who ultimately approved my client pulled out a document that it was almost like a gotcha moment, a document that the client had signed 12 years ago as a refugee, saying that he was going to register for the US Selective Service. Everything worked out fine. And we explained why our client hadn't registered for Selective Service, but it was interesting to see USCIS thoroughly going through every step of their prior immigration documents. And that, of course, is USCIS's job. We want to get a copy of everything beforehand. But everything turned out fine, and we're glad the officer understood our position. So we're going to get into the questions that people have submitted. Here's a first good general question. I'd like to know how to immigrate to America and what are the current available options. So the four main methods are focused. There's mainly three. There's a fourth bonus one. There's three main categories: family-based immigration, employment-based or business-based immigration, humanitarian immigration is number three, and finally the diversity visa option, DV visa option, where you apply and you're randomly selected from countries around the world that don't have a high amount of representation in the US already. So many fantastic people have built lives and futures and generations of family members following entry on the diversity visa. But in general, what we do with our potential clients is look to see if there's a family-based method of immigration, because that typically is a little easier. Typically, it can be a lot easier depending on your circumstances. The US immigration system is biased in favor of helping families unite. None of these methods are really easy, but if you have a family member, a spouse, a child, or parent, those are the immediate relative categories. If you have an immediate relative here, that makes it easier for you to immigrate. And then there's business categories where you could be an employee or an investor. And that third category is humanitarian-based immigration, such as asylum or a humanitarian parole or a T visa, T for trafficking, if you are sadly subject to that. Now, so that's the overview. I'll go to the next question. My question is that I have temporary residence in Ukraine because of the ongoing situation in Ukraine. I cannot continue my education, and I'd like to move to an English-speaking country. Okay, well, sorry for the disruption there. So many of our Ukrainian friends, their lives are upended, and the refugee flows are massive. So this person was pointing out that he or she has been a temporary resident of Ukraine, but cannot continue being a student there, has to move somewhere else. How can that person move to another country? So in our view, we view this as outbound immigration. Inbound immigration is coming into the US. And so from the American perspective here, how do I move to a different country, not necessarily into the United States? And we are an English speaking country, so you could always be a student here. So yeah, perhaps an inbound option you should consider is transferring to be an F1, F as in Frank, student over here and apply for a US university, get accepted, get them to issue an I-20 form, come to the United States as a student. It's often expensive over here. US colleges love foreign national students because they can charge them a lot of money, but the education is world class. But you're likely in Europe, your life's been upended. Hopefully you're safe. And it's not clear if you're in Ukraine or not, but next steps for outbound immigration would be to apply for a program somewhere else in Europe. Depends on your status, whether you can travel in the Schengen area or not, and what your home country is. So good luck to you. Feel free to email us at support@passage.law if you have specific follow-up questions that we might be able to help with. Okay. Here, someone wrote in French. I have some high school level French. Comment fait pour obtenir le visa? Sorry about that, you French speakers. Comment faut... Yeah, so how to obtain a visa is the question. Now, they're probably wondering, how do you get a visa to the US? Look at the main categories that we just mentioned: family, business, humanitarian, diversity visa. Start with the family category, but you can also look for people who want to hire you and get a job offer. Look online for employers who hire foreign nationals, and depending on your skills and training, you might just be able to get a job. The other options are to be a student here, F1 student visa. You could be a au pair, a nanny, if you're young enough. I believe you have to be under 26. You get a J1 visa and do that. All right, moving along. What are the main requirements for an immigrant visa for a family application to be successful? Another great question. So an immigrant visa for a family member is typically, for example, you're petitioning for your spouse, you're a US citizen or you're a permanent resident petitioning, for example, for a spouse, and you have to start off by filing an I-130 form. And if you were petitioning for a parent, you have to be a US citizen to petition for a parent. But you can be a green card holder, permanent resident, or a US citizen and petition for a young child. I encourage you to check out the visa bulletin if you haven't already. Look up online USCIS visa bulletin, and that will show you a preference category chart that lists out these non-immediate relative categories, these preference categories, such as US citizens filing for their adult kids, where you have a permanent resident petitioning for certain family members. And it breaks down the age and the wait time according to priority date on that visa bulletin. So take a look at that. That will help you understand and confirm how long it's going to take for your immigrant visa for your family member to go through. So it all depends upon your status as the petitioner and what the age is and the nationality is of your beneficiary family member. If you're petitioning for a sibling, brother or sister, the wait time is very long. And if you're from one of these highly impacted countries, Philippines, China, Mexico, those countries that are highly impacted, the wait time is much longer. But now maybe just to add a little more context here, you file the I-130 petition, you provide supporting documents for that. You can even file the I-130 online, but we mainly do that through paper still. We recommend it because it's more reliable at this point. Then the National Visa Center, after USCIS approves the petition, National Visa Center through the State Department gets involved, and they will ask for more documentation, ask you to file a visa application for your family member. Your family member ultimately submits that himself or herself. DS 260 form. You got to upload financial evidence, the affidavit of support. That's form 864. Sometimes you need a certain variety of that form, a subform, an 864A for household members that you're using to contribute to the total income and showing that you meet that requirement. Then after the NVC approves all the documents you've uploaded, the embassy is contacted, an interview is set up, and if all goes well, maybe it's going to be like 14 months, maybe to a year and a half at this point. Depends where you are in the world, where that interview is set up. And then you have to bring in original documents, your police certificate, and a number of other required supporting evidence to get your visa stamped in your passport. So that's the overview of the immigrant visa for a family member. Next question, how long is the process of naturalization? They say it takes years, especially now in this pandemic. I've been here as an immigrant for more than 10 years, and I haven't been taking any steps for naturalization. Okay, well, you should definitely consider it. You don't have to worry about renewing your green card. You're able to vote. Many benefits to naturalization. Right now, especially in the West Coast and here in Portland, where I live, it's about a year, 12 months from the time you file the N-400 to the time you get your interview set up. And if you're lucky enough to have the naturalization oath ceremony the same day. So you could become a citizen the same day you have an interview. But it definitely doesn't take years. Something is wrong if it takes more than a year and a half. Parts of the US are slower than others, but I don't believe there's anywhere where you regularly would be scheduled for more than 2 years. And sometimes you might need to file a mandamus delay lawsuit if your case is just languishing and the US government might be slowing it down because they're discriminating against you based upon national origin, your religious views. So that's unacceptable, and you shouldn't just be stuck in limbo. That's not fair. The US government works for us. We are all in this together. So you're wondering how long it takes, year and a half at the most, and you're eligible because if you're not married to a US citizen, you could apply in 5 years. If you're married to a US citizen, you only need to have been a green card holder for 3 years. So in either situation, a 10-year permanent resident definitely can qualify for the minimum period of time of being a permanent resident. The continuous residence requirement is met. You got to meet the physical presence test as well. So half your time must have been physically present, boots on the ground, as they say in the United States. Okay, I've been wanting to naturalize, but I want to keep my citizenship. Could a law firm help me to make this happen? So many countries in the world allow dual citizenship. The US is one of those countries that allows dual citizenship. So the problem, if there is a restriction on whether you can be a dual citizen or not, the problem typically is not on the US side. We tolerate dual citizenship. The US government wants you to put America at the top of the list and give up foreign allegiances and commit to defending the Constitution as it should. So there's also, in parallel with that, though, a toleration and the acceptance that someone can be a good US citizen and a good citizen of another country, such as the UK or Hungary. Many places in the world do allow dual citizenship. Some countries don't allow it, such as Japan or India. Germany is kind of in the middle, which if you're a German, you've got to file some paperwork with a long name I can't really pronounce, starting with the letter B as in boy. You've got to file paperwork to show that you're able to maintain your German citizenship and you're not giving it up when you become a US citizen. It was wonderful to get through a bunch of questions with you today. We covered a lot of ground. I hope you will feel free to get in touch. If you have further questions, you can email us or give us a call. We are a friendly group over here at Passage Immigration and look forward to helping you in the near future. Take care. Have a great day.